Timor Leste dan Indonesia memiliki ikatan yang kuat berdasarkan sejarah yang panjang. Bagaimana peran kerjasama bilateral antara Timor Leste dan Indonesia dalam pembangunan ekonomi di Timor Leste, serta peran hubungan antar masyarakat kedua negara akan diperbincangkan dalam International Corner Antara episode kali ini. Halo pemirsa, saya Gracia Simanjuntak. Selamat datang di International Corner. Bersama saya saat ini di Antara Heritage Center telah hadir Kuasa Usaha Kedutaan Besar Timor Leste untuk Indonesia, Bapak Domingos Savio. Mr. Savio, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you are well.
I'm really well, thank you.
Okay. For this first segment, we will talk about Timor Leste-Indonesia relations. So let's get to it. Timor Leste and Indonesia will commemorate 22 years of diplomatic relations. Are there any certain activities or events that have been planned by governments of two countries to celebrate it?
Yeah, Timor Leste and Indonesia, as you know, have a very, very strong relationship since we become independence. The leaders of this country and then Timor leaders come to an agreement that we must move on. You know that we do have a bitter past between the two countries. But the leaders in the both countries agreed that we need to remember the past and look into the future.
Right.
So that's why we come up with the reconciliation between the two countries. So you see the relation with the two countries has grown from strength to strength since it became independence. It can be seen from a high-level visit between the two countries' leaders. So in Timor-Leste, if the president or the government established, the first visit is always Indonesia and Australia before other countries.
Okay.
So this is a deliberate decision to show how important these two countries' relationships are. Equally, if you remember back in 2002 when Timor became independence, President Megawati Soekarno Putri attended the official handover of independence from United Nations to Timor-Leste. This is 2002, over 20 years ago.
Yes.
20 May, to be precise. Ever since, a lot of Indonesian leaders have visited the country. From President Yudhoyono, he visited at least 2-3 times before his mandate ended. And then President Jokowi been to the country. And then our President Zuzera Muzorta visited this country regularly.
Yes.
Prime Minister Sanana Gusmao also visited this country regularly. And then, there is, to celebrate this relationship, I'm aware that the government has invited His Excellency President-elected Prabowo Subianto to go to Timor. But I also am aware that I think there is a plan for a possible visit of President Joko Widodo to Timor-Leste. This is a part of maybe celebration you are referring to.
Yeah.
But furthermore, relation between two countries is even stronger because we know we share an island between the East Timor and West Timor.
Yes.
So a lot of people cross the border freely. Goods also cross the border freely. And then a lot of Timorese also make Indonesia as their homes. Equally, a lot of Indonesians also make Timor as their homes. It shows how strong the relationship between the two countries.
So glad to hear that. Mr. Ambassador, how does the Timor-Leste government view bilateral relations with Indonesia so far, both from a political, economic, and socio-cultural perspective?
As I said earlier, the relationship with the two countries is so strong. If you talk about the economic relation with the two countries, I give you an example. Currently, probably up to 90% import actually come from Indonesia. The rest come from ASEAN countries.
Yeah.
When I refer to Indonesia, I mean it's come from Tanjung Perak in Surabaya. You know, the shipping All the goods come from Surabaya, but also coming through the border from West Timor, Kupang, to Timor Leste in trucks. So every day you will see a lot of trucks coming from Indonesia to Timor with the DH plate called DH is from Kupang to Timor every single day.
Right.
There are trucks after trucks coming to Timor. So the economic relation with the country is very, very strong. And in Timor, we have this belief that Timor-Leste and Indonesia need to grow together in terms of economics. Because we share the border, it's our immediate neighbor. And then there is a program they call Triangle Program between Timor-Leste, Australia, and NTT, Nusa Tenggara Timor. They call it Triangle Project. The idea is to have this economic growth together. In fact, now you have buses, Damri, running from Kupang to Dili every day. So Dili, Kupang, Dili every day. And then also Babadok, which is Timor-Leste's buses, also from Dili to Kupang and Kupang to Dili every day. It shows how strong relation with the two countries. In fact, people in the border can cross the border easily. In the past, we do have what we call border crossing passes. So you can just show your passes and you go to Timor if you live in the border area. So the relationship economically is very, very strong. In fact, we are thinking to enhance it, to make it bigger. As you know, like many countries, we have this economic cooperation need to be strengthened. Currently, you have Indonesian banks operated in Timor, like BRI, Mandiri. These are Indonesian banks that actually operate in Timor. So how relation economically with the country is so strong. On top of that, there are a lot of Indonesian companies that operate in Timor, build infrastructures. They are part of Indonesian government companies that operate in the country, building ports, airports, roads, bridges, buildings, you name them.
Okay. Now, in your opinion, what are current challenges and opportunities for both countries to enhance their relations?
I guess the challenges are that we need to, both countries need to inform public at large to understand that the relationship with the two countries has grown from strength to strength. When I use this term is, if you look at the Indonesian citizens, currently 25 years old, they didn't know Timor because we were independent in 25 years ago. So when we become independent, they are only 1 year old. Therefore, they don't remember that Timor was even probably part of Indonesian province for 27 province for 24 years. But if you look at the Indonesians that say they are 30 years old today, that means that when we become independent, they were only 5 years old. So they probably don't remember Timor much, or they probably hardly hear about Timor. So the challenges are that Timorese diplomats and Indonesian diplomats, media like ANTARA need to disseminate more of information about the two countries because there are so much opportunities that the two countries can develop and cooperate with that eventually benefit the two countries. If you look at the relationship, because we were part of Indonesia for 24 years, what they mean is that the Bahasa is still widely spoken in the country, Bahasa Indonesia. And a lot of young people listen to your news or watching Indonesian television, like TV1, Metro, and then they watch your, films. They listen to your music. So a lot of young people, even kids that never been to Indonesian school, they speak Bahasa. So these are a lot of opportunities that actually people here in Indonesia didn't know. Because I have visited some places and then unfortunate to hear that a lot of information that they got is actually not quite accurate. For example, there are some people think that the Bahasa has been banned in Timor. No, it's not. Bahasa is actually now become one of the 4 languages in the country. So we have 4 languages in our constitution.
Yeah.
First, Portuguese. Second, Tetum as the official language.
Yeah.
And then the working language is actually Bahasa and English. The working language. So 2 languages for working languages.
Yeah.
So these are the things that people in Indonesia need to know. That, despite the countries that will become independent, the relationship is actually getting stronger and stronger. Or what in English we might call ever closer. Become very, very close.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's so to the international community. Some countries are surprised. How is that these 2 countries that used to be FY, or have bitter past, now become one of their best friends. In fact, former President Yudhoyono, SBY, described not as neighbors, but brothers and sisters.
So you're saying the youngsters especially are getting more familiar with Indonesia?
In Timor, yes. A lot of Timorese are very familiar with Indonesia, as I said, because they watch your television. Now, I don't know about the Indonesian students or Indonesian children, as I refer to, because, as I said, that if you're 40 years old today, that means you're only 15 when Timor become independent. So you might not remember a lot of things what happened in Timor, because when I went to Indonesian school in Timor, for example, my teachers are from Sulawesi, from Irian, from East Java, from Bandung. They are teachers. Our teachers. Until today, some of them are still in touch. And after that, I came to Indonesia and I studied in Jakarta. I went to SMP 183, and I went to SMA 5, Negeri 5 in Jakarta, in Sumur Batu. So that's where I went to school.
Yeah, obviously we have strong relationships.
I would say very, very strong, because there's also a cross marriage between the 2 countries' citizens.
It's common.
So during Indonesian time, because it was 24 years long, a lot of Indonesian citizens married to Timorese, and a lot of Timorese also married to Indonesia. And then, and after that, there's still a lot of, because a lot of Timorese was also educated here. During 27 provinces, thousands of Timorese were having scholarship from government of Indonesia to study here in Indonesia, like in UI, UGM, in Brawijaya, in Udayana, in Atmajaya, UKI. So a lot of students were educated here throughout those years.
Okay.
So that's how deep the relationship. In fact, one of our prime ministers was actually educated here in Indonesia. Now the current deputy prime minister is also educated here in Indonesia. He was educated in Malang.
Now, last question for this segment, sir. What are the Timor-Leste government's hopes for the bilateral relations with Indonesia during the period of the new administration under the leadership of elected President Prabowo Subianto?
I think the relationship is going to go stronger. The reason being because Mr. Subianto, President-elect, he spent a lot of time in Timor during his career as a military. What that means that he has a lot of friends in the country. He also knows the country well. He knows the people. And then, in fact, he had, a couple of weeks ago, there was a meeting in Singapore during Sangrila Dialogue. He shared a table with our President Jose Ramos Horta during Sangrila Dialogue. They sit in the same table. So Mr. Prabowo Subianto know Timor well. Also, I remember about 20 years ago when current Prime Minister Sanana Gusmao and His Excellency President-elect Prabowo Subianto share a podium here in Jakarta talking about the relation between Timor-Leste and Indonesia. This is 20 years ago, or more or less, right after we become independence. So the relationship, for me, my personal opinion is going to go only stronger.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Savio.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
We'll see you back in the second segment. Demikian pemirsa perbincangan International Corner dengan Kuasa Usaha Kedutaan Besar Timor Leste untuk Indonesia, Bapak Savio. Terima kasih telah menyaksikan International Corner. Sampai jumpa di segmen berikutnya. Halo pemirsa, Anda kembali menyaksikan International Corner Antara bersama saya Gracia Simanjuntak. Saat ini International Corner masih bersama dengan Kuasa Usaha Kedutaan Besar Timor Leste untuk Indonesia, Bapak Domingos Savio. Mr. Savio, in January this year, Timor Leste President Mr. Ramos Horta visited Indonesia and met with President Joko Widodo. The two of them discussed a number of bilateral issues, one of which was about the border. Now, can you explain the progress on the negotiations to resolve the Timor-Leste-Indonesia land border?
Just give you a bit of a background. I think, as I said earlier, the visit of President Horta to Jakarta was at the invitation of His Excellency President Joko Widodo. As I mentioned earlier, the two leaders' relationship is very, very strong. It is important that leaders meet each other to talk about their views, their visions, share their opinions, the visions of the two countries' relationship, but also our regional issues, as well as the multilateral issues. Because Timor-Leste and Indonesia are cooperating in so many areas, both bilaterally, regionally, but also multilaterally. Now, you refer to the border negotiations. In Timor, we have a special body that deal with the border negotiations, which is called MBO, the Maritime Boundary Office, under Prime Minister. So in Timor, who do the negotiations on the border issues are led by MBO team, which is the negotiator are Prime Minister Sanana Gusmo himself, as well as technical chief negotiator, Mr. Ambassador Roberto Suarez. Now, so they are the one who deal with the negotiation. The issue about the border is actually only two segments left on the land border, very, very close to be finalized. So I'm very confident that the two countries will finalize these two segments soon. And then, of course, and then we also have a maritime boundary, the sea border to be negotiated in the future.
Soon, sometime this year or coming year?
Sorry, say again?
Soon, sometime this year?
I mean, the negotiations, it's ongoing. About a few months ago, Indonesia team were in Timor, and then team were here to negotiate. But as I said, only two segments left. Hopefully, the two countries will finalize it soon.
While the negotiation process is still ongoing, what are the government efforts to improve the economic, the local economic, conduciveness and capability for the welfare of for the people of both countries who live in the border area?
I like to give you some background of Timor-Leste economy. When Timor-Leste became independent, the leaders were thinking for very long term. So what they did and doing until today is that our main income, which is, come from oil and gas, it's saved in the U.S. bonds. They call it sovereign wealth fund. So Timor-Leste government established a sovereign wealth fund, which is following the Norway model. As you know, Norway is one of the countries that very successfully saving the oil and gas money for the development. Now in Timor, we call it Norway Plus.
Norway Plus.
The ideas have to be better than Norway. So what happened is that most of the money that come from Timor Sea, from the oil and gas, saved in U.S. bonds. So it's safe there for future generation. No one have access to that money. The money can only be accessed at the approval of the parliament, only 3% a year to be taken out from the funds. So all the money that comes from oil and gas, safe for future generation. Currently, it stands of about $18 billion US in the sovereign fund.
Yeah.
And some of the money is being, of course, invested in different markets. But the idea is that the leaders believe that we must save our resources for future generation. This is one. Second, that's most of the income actually from oil and gas in Timor Leste. The second most and biggest income actually from remittances. Remittances are, we have Timorese who live in United Kingdom, in Ireland, in Portugal, in South Korea, in Australia, who work there and then bring money back to the country that we call remittances. Yeah. That's the second biggest income after oil and gas, followed by the coffee. In Timor, we have one of the famous organic coffee. So this coffee has been exported to Australia, London, US, Germany, and it's sold in the Starbucks. So these are the main income for the country. So the economically, Timor-Leste actually doing pretty well. The leaders also, because they're thinking very long term, when Timor become independence, they come up with a policy that they call it zero debt. Zero debt means that we are, the countries are not allowed to borrow money. So first 15 years, Timor borrow no money. So zero debt. The idea is that you don't want to go into the debt trap that eventually you cannot come out of it. But also back then, we don't have the capacity to borrow money and then invest it back. So the leaders think very, very long term. Right. So only recently that Timor-Leste borrow money, but not a lot, about maybe 400 to 500 million. It's tiny for infrastructures, like building road, bridges, you know, port. But otherwise, the first 15 years, the government come up with a policy with zero debt, means no loan. And so we borrow from no one.
That's amazing.
So what I'm trying to say, this is a background of a bit of a background of economic in Timor-Leste. So what that means is that, you know, by working closely with West Timor in particular, and then Indonesia in general, we will bring further economic benefit to two countries and two peoples.
Regarding economic cooperation, how do you see the trend of trade and investment between the two countries? And in your opinion, what potentials need to be explored further for to increase cooperation in these two fields, trade and investment?
There are plenty of opportunity for the two countries to explore. For example, tourism sector. You know, Indonesia, as I said, with Timor is so close, but also because of its past histories, there's a lot of potential for, let's say, former teachers in Timor. They left in '99, 24 years ago, or almost 25 years ago. If they wanted to go back today to see where they were teaching in the schools, to go and see, meet the students or the former students, I think that's one of the tourism sectors we can explore. Or Indonesians who were there, but they left in '99, have never been to Timor. You know, they're all welcome to come to Timor for a visit. This is one of what we call historic tourism, maybe, that we can talk about. Or Indonesian policemen or former Indonesian authorities that were there. You know, they can visit Timor, you know, as part of what we call maybe historic tourism or people-to-people relationship. You know, these are the things that I think the two countries can explore. If you look at the airlines that are flying from Dili to Bali every day, there are two airlines. One is CityLink, every day, fly from Bali to Dili and Dili, Bali, and then followed by Aero Timor. Aero Dili, which belongs to a Timorese businessman. It's also fly from Dili to Bali, Bali Dili every day, to create the connectivity on top of the Damri that already run from Kupang to Dili. And then in terms of the connectivity, Timor also have a direct flight from Australia, from Darwin, which is Qantas. So Qantas flight to Dili every day. So if you wanted to go to Darwin, see a bit of Darwin, and you can fly to Timor, see a bit of Timor, and then fly back to Kupang. These are the areas that we can explore that eventually benefit the two countries, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Now, in terms of people-to-people contact and social relations, we would like to know how the young people of Timor-Leste view Indonesia, considering our history.
I think, as I said, because the relationship is so strong, we are so close. Of course, the young people, I can't really speak on behalf of them. Journalists have to talk to them and see what their view. Young people actually know Indonesian pretty well. And then they all speak in Bahasa, some of them speak in English, Bahasa, and they talk highly about the relations with the two countries. As I said, because a lot of Timors are currently study here, but also so many way study here. So a lot of relationship between the two countries. That in itself, it's influenced the way the young people in Timor see Indonesia. As I said, the very, very young kids, they speak Bahasa. They singing Indonesian songs from time to time. And if you go into a little buses in Timor, we call microlab. If you walk and see there, they play Indonesian musics. Mix, of course, Timorese music, Indonesian music, Western music. But what I'm saying is that Indonesia, what you call culture, food. If you go to Timor today, there is Padang food, nasi lemak, you name them, nasi goreng, mie goreng, or terang bulang, the special martabak. So they are all there. What it means that the relationship is so strong and deep.
Thank you for your views, Mr. Savio.
Thank you very much.
Demikian pemirsa perbincangan International Corner dengan Kuasa Usaha Kedutaan Besar Timor Leste untuk Indonesia, Bapak Savio. Terima kasih telah menyaksikan International Corner. Sampai jumpa di segmen berikutnya. Halo pemirsa, Anda kembali menyaksikan International Corner Antara bersama saya Gracia Simanjuntak. International Corner masih bersama dengan Kuasa Usaha Kedutaan Besar Timor Leste untuk Indonesia, Bapak Domingos Savio. Sir, for this last segment, we will talk about Timor-Leste development. As a young country, most likely, Timor-Leste has struggled to establish its own economy after its independence. Now, how would you describe the economic development in Timor-Leste to the outside world?
I wouldn't say a struggle. I would say we start from the beginning, and some of it. The government come out with the priorities. One of the priorities is infrastructure. So the government building a lot of roads, bridges, buildings, public buildings, schools,
factories.
We build electricity for entire country. The government spend about $1 billion US dollars building electricity for entire country. So in Timor-Leste now we have about over 90% people have access to electricity. And then we also now have this cable undersea to bring fast internet. So this is cable undersea. It's actually coming from Darwin to Timor. It's only landed recently. So in the next couple of years, we should have a fast internet in the country, the 5G. The idea is that to help boost the economic growth. On top of that, the government also invests a lot in education. So we currently have, when we started, when Timor became independence, we only have about less than 10 doctors. Today, we have 1,000 doctors. They all were sent to Cuba to study in Cuba. That was a scholarship from President Fidel Castro for Timorese young people, both men and women,
How many youngsters?
Went 1,000.
1,000.
Went to Cuba to study, to become medical doctors. After many years in Cuba, they all now back in Timor. Just to give you an idea, that the government is very serious about, preparing young people for long term.
Yes.
Currently, for example, we have over 400 university graduates from Australia alone, and over 400 also graduates from New Zealand, and about 400 from Brazil, many hundred from Portugal. We also have many thousand graduates from Indonesia. In fact, we also have a lot of graduates from Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, in US, South Korea, Japan, China. We send many people to also China. On some of them actually from Chinese scholarship, and Japanese scholarship, Korean scholarship, Australian scholarship. So government also put a lot of money to send its brightest people on scholarship. So we prepare this country and prepare the young people for long term. On top of that, this is something that a lot of people are not aware. We currently have about 30,000 Timorese in United Kingdom, in the UK alone. 30,000, more or less. A lot of young people are currently study there, in Oxford, in London, in Ireland, or in Brighton, and in different cities in United Kingdom. So for me, the government have done a lot in a way to prepare these people for long term. The other important sector that the government invested in is health. In Timor-Leste, health is free, hospitals are free, educations are free. If you are sick and the doctors in Timor cannot treat you, they will be sent to Indonesia, paid by government of Timor-Leste, or sent to Singapore for medical treatment, or they will be sent, the citizen will be sent to Malaysia for medical treatment, government pay for all. So this is the policy of the government. So government is seriously investing in these people.
Wow. Is there any success story that is success story of Timor-Leste development that is significant, but somehow other countries and people don't know? Can you tell us some about it?
Well, one of them is, as I said, that now we have over 90% people have electricity. Start with everybody live in the dark. And then we have like 1,000 doctors for the population of only 1.4 million people. We have like thousands of graduates from different parts of the world. As I said earlier, we have graduates from China, from Australia, from the US, from London, all the way to Norway. We send people to, and you'll be surprised. We have students who study in places like Bangladesh, India, Vietnam. So you go to Timor. If you want to looking for Spanish speakers, we have thousands of Spanish speakers in the country.
Right.
If you want to look for Korean speakers, there are a lot of Korean speakers. You looking for Chinese speakers, they are there. Therefore, if you want to invest in the country, whatever language you need, we have these people. These are things that people don't know. So I always hear that people question about Timor-Leste's capabilities. But I can tell you that the government is making a lot of effort to prepare its people for very long term. So I'm very confident that in the next decades to come, Timor should be able to become one of the successful country.
Okay, moving on. One of the obstacles that Timor-Leste faced in joining ASEAN as a member is the country's infrastructure development. Now, however, what is the actual situation and progress of the infrastructure development?
As I said earlier, country is currently being built and developed for the future of its people, the current its citizen of today, but also in the future. We are preparing ourselves for not only to join ASEAN, but prepare for ourselves to develop the country to address the welfare of its citizens to reduce their poverty, to send people to school, have a quality education, quality health, have better services in public offices. In terms of infrastructure, as I said, yes, because the country is only just over 20 years old. This is something that sometimes people tend to forget.
Yeah, very young.
It's a very young country. We used to be the youngest country in the world. Of course, then later Kosovo took over, so they become the youngest, and then South Sudan become the youngest. So we are no longer the youngest, but we are still the youngest country in Southeast Asia and the Pacific, Asia Pacific.
Right.
This is a thing that people tend to forget and overlook. But as I said, Timor-Leste is preparing itself to join ASEAN. Here in Jakarta, we have our ASEAN embassy, led by our ambassador, Her Excellency Natasha Coelho. She should be able to explain to you about the progress of ASEAN. I cover the bilateral part, but I can tell you that there's been a lot of interaction between ASEAN Secretariat and ASEAN countries with Timor to prepare Timor to join the ASEAN.
Sir, countries in the world are becoming concerned and starting to implement sustainable development, respectively. What about Timor-Leste? How does the country implement such development efforts, and can you give us some examples?
Yeah, when we talk about sustainable development, I'll give you one particular example. Currently, Timor-Leste have a lot of what you call aid from certain countries. Let's give an example of Australia. Australia provides aid to Timor. So when we talk to Australians, instead of continuing to give us aid, why don't you let people to go and work and make their own money? So what happened? We talked to Australia. So Australia and Timor have an agreement. So a lot of young people, both men and young women, go to Australia to work. They call it a seasonal worker program. This seasonal worker program used to be only for Pacific countries. But Australia generously agreed to get Timor into their program. So in and out of Australia, we are currently having about maybe 14,000 to 15,000 Timorese have been worked in Australia and bring money back to their country to build houses, send their family, help their family needs, send their children to school, or send their brother and sister to university. This is what I will call sustainable development. And also, for example, you invest in infrastructure. My government recently built what we call deep sea port in East Timor, or Timor-Leste. It's a deep sea that a lot of ships can dock while they coming through the Pacific Ocean. Can stop over in Timor. It's a deep sea port. This is the infrastructure we build for longer term to ensure the sustainability of not only connectivity but also for export and import of goods to ensure the sustainability is there. By investing in the critical infrastructure, eventually you have a lot of return coming to the economy that we call a sustainable development. Yeah.
Mr. Savio, thank you so much for speaking to us and coming by today.
Thank you ever so much for having me. It's been a great pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Demikian pemirsa perbincangan saya dengan Kuasa Usaha Kedutaan Besar Timor-Leste untuk Indonesia, Bapak Domingos Savio. Terima kasih telah menyaksikan International Corner. Sampai jumpa di episode berikutnya.